We are going to be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So we definitely have quite a few things to talk about today, but first I do want to go ahead and talk about the 3-Eye Atlas, because more so than ever before, people truly believe that this 3-Eye Atlas is some kind of UFO with aliens on board, or some kind of alien probe, something along those lines, because they are pointing out the very suspicious timing between this whole government shutdown and the closer and closer that this object gets. And with that being said, because of the government shutdown, NASA will not release any HD photos of the 3-Eye Atlas, having people truly believe that something is indeed going on here. That something does not pass the smell test. Something definitely smells like a dirty dipe. But before we go ahead and believe the script that's playing out in front of us, who was the individual that started all this? Who was the individual that led people to believe that the 3-Eye Atlas was a UFO? And that individual, his name is Avi Loeb, but his first name isn't Avi, it's actually Abraham, and that's going to be pretty important for something I have to show. Avi is just a nickname, and it was this same individual, Abraham Loeb, with his team, that decided that the 3-Eye Atlas weighs 33 billion tons. But not just that, this same team also decided that it has a mass loss rate of around 330 pounds per second. So definitely some interesting numerology there, but if you search up Abraham Loeb or Avi Loeb, you get that he's an Israeli and American theoretical physicist who works on astrophysics and cosmology. He's also a professor of science at Harvard University. So just some basic stuff. It's not going to show you everything he's connected to by just searching his name, but if you were to search Abraham Loeb World Economic Forum, that's where things get a little bit more interesting. Well, would you look at that? He is an agenda contributor for the World Economic Forum. I bet he is. I bet he is. So the man who has people believing that the 3-Eye Atlas is a UFO with aliens on board, and again, the interesting numerology, is an agenda contributor with the World Economic Forum. And well, what agenda does the World Economic Forum, including the United Nations, currently have? They have the 2030 Agenda, the Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, multiple policies for all these countries around the world to follow, a one world government. And how would you get all these countries around the world to follow one law, one policy?
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
So all these people out here pushing out videos talking about how the 3-Eye Atlas is a UFO and it's doing all these weird things, making other people believe that it's a UFO, well, unbeknownst to them, or maybe they know, that they're actually at the end of the day pushing along the World Economic Forum agenda. Then you'll have some people say, well, you can take a telescope and you can see it. It doesn't look like a normal comet. It looks like some kind of ship. But we don't know what's truly up there or what was put up there. Does anybody remember those news articles that came out about Earth supposedly having a second moon? And news and media told us that it was exactly 33 feet long. That's how I knew something was suspicious then. I mean, come on. The Earth's second moon is 33 feet and the 3-Eye Atlas is 33 billion tons. What are the odds? And I even said when I made a video on it back then that it's possibly some kind of projector to produce images. Again, we truly don't know, but what I do know is when all roads lead to the World Economic Forum, lies will unfold, agendas will unfold. I do not trust NASA one bit, but I especially do not trust the World Economic Forum, even more so given the fact that the new leadership is worse than the old leadership, run by the water man that wants to control all the water, and the BlackRock man that wants to have a cashless society and have everything be digital. So no, I don't trust anything that comes out of there. And when we talk about Project Bluebeam, this fall stage alien invasion, a lot of people believe that when you talk about Project Bluebeam, you believe that these entities are not real. These creatures are not real. And that wouldn't be the case whatsoever. What something like Project Bluebeam exposes is the lie that these things come from space. They come from another planet, when that's not the case whatsoever. The things that will be used on humanity are things that have already been here, things that have been created in a lab. Think deep underground military bases, these hybrids, these chimeras that they did say they are indeed making, and also real entities that have always been here, these fallen ones. So there will indeed be real entities used in a fall stage alien invasion. They're just not coming from the planet 33. And now he's pushing out the fact that this WOW signal that happened back in 1977, where a lot of researchers believe that this could be extraterrestrial in origin, may be coming from the 3I Atlas. So we can see what's going on here.
I realized that back on August 15th, 1977, there was a very famous flare in the radio signal that was given the name the WOW signal, because the observers that recorded it at the Ohio State University was stunned at how powerful this signal was. And I checked it. Turns out that it came from about the same direction in the sky as 3I Atlas, within 9 degrees. And the chance for a random alignment of the two directions of 9 degrees or so is 0.6%. And there was no report on radio observations of 3I Atlas so far. So I'm encouraging radio astronomers around the world to check out whether there is any radio transmission from 3I Atlas.
Then, suspiciously enough, after Avi Loeb says we need to check the 3I Atlas for radio signals, now these videos are coming out that apparently they found radio pulses coming from 3I Atlas, yet the live feed was shut down.
Okay, I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be posting this right now, but I just heard something, and it's not a theory anymore. They said it came from one of the deep space channels monitoring 3I Atlas, and what it transmitted, it wasn't background noise. They picked up an encoded pulse, repeating every 47 seconds, the same pattern used in low-frequency military comms. Then a secondary signal, like a reply, bounced back from our atmosphere. That's when one of the analysts said the word simulation. And then the feed just cut. Now, I don't know if this was staged, faked, or part of Project Bluebeam, but if it's real, that means something is already active. And here's the part that freaked me out. 3I Atlas hit solar perihelion this week, exactly the moment the pulse peaked. You can call it coincidence. I can't. I don't care if this video gets buried or flagged. Just remember this. When they tell you to look up, don't. Because the show in the sky might not be from above, it might be from here. They want us watching the sky, so we stop watching them. Stay alert, stay aware, in spite of the illusion, see through it. And what are the odds that I just did a video on this?
Dr. Loeb, do we have the pictures? Here we are almost a week later. Have you seen them?
So in fact, the only information we get is from the Europeans. There is the European Space Agency that released some data which is inferior to the NASA data, and they are saying that indeed the HiRISE camera captured an image of good data on October 2nd. However, the principal investigator of that camera said that he cannot communicate the information to the public because of the government shutdown. Now, that of course raises some concerns that maybe they know something and do not want to let us know about it. And my interpretation is that it's probably not flagging extraterrestrial intelligence. It most likely is the result of terrestrial stupidity.
You think, I don't buy the shutdown excuse. That to me is really suspicious 8 days later that NASA hasn't released these photos.
So they are definitely playing into the script, the narrative, the mystery of the whole thing. NASA shut down because of the government shutdown as soon as they got photos of this thing, so it has to be a spaceship. This is how they are building this alien agenda. And again, the red flag for everybody should be the timing and how it all connects to the World Economic Forum. But just to prove my point even further that they have been working on this fall stage alien invasion for quite a while, which was possibly this 3I Atlas, look at this very suspicious article going all the way back to March 22nd, 2023. It is titled, "Alien Mothership Lurking in Our Solar System could be watching us with tiny probes, Pentagon officials suggest. A draft paper by a Harvard scientist, and I wonder which Harvard scientist they're referring to, and the head of the Pentagon's UFO office has raised the idea an alien mothership could be in the solar system sending out tiny probes dubbed dandelion seeds to explore the planets within. Let's also not forget that Avi Loeb, the World Economic Forum agenda contributor, was the first one to say that there were hostile aliens on board the 3I Atlas. Well, how do you know they're hostile? Have you asked them? Or do you know the script ahead of time? The whole thing is just so obviously shady. But talking about another shady individual, I did want to go ahead and talk about this news right here that came out on October 10th. And this happens to be about Peter They See Me Sweatin' Thiel, whose name is an actual anagram for the reptile. Now, as most of us already know by now, he did a 4-part lecture series on the biblical Antichrist, and supposedly it was a private affair, no recording whatsoever, and if you were caught recording, you would be kicked out and banned from any other future lectures. But apparently, the Washington Post was able to get audio recordings of all 4 of Thiel's lectures titled The Antichrist, and if this is indeed confirmed to be true, it is pretty terrifying what he's saying, given the fact that, again, he is inside the government playing a prominent role. And the reason why I say confirmed to be true happens to be the fact that these recordings had not been released to the public yet, and the Washington Post, they brought in a digital forensic expert and professor to see if these recordings have been manipulated by AI in any way, and so far they're finding out that they have not been. And what has been released so far is that he warned that Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, and not just her, but any critic, which, is somebody like myself and others, of technology and artificial intelligence are legionnaires of the Antichrist. So if you're the type of person that believes that AI should slow down and you have a problem with things like Sora 2, where they're basically resurrecting the dead, they're not only showing these individuals doing things they have never done before, but it's also mocking their voice to a T. If you have a problem with that, if you have a problem with companies like OpenAI are now allowing people to build these strong romantic relationships with their chatbots to the point it can turn into erotica, then you are doing the work of the Antichrist. So it's not just Greta Thunberg, but anybody that feels any sort of way about AI and where we are today. And if he feels this way, what do you think people like Larry Ellison feel? Somebody who has been called the shadow president of the United States, somebody who said he'll use AI to make sure we're all on our best behavior, an individual that's owning all these companies, including TikTok. So make no mistake about it, it's not just Peter Thiel, but all these tech giants that see you as a demonic heretic for speaking out against AI. And let's not forget another individual involved in Palantir, Alex Karp, when he said this about his critics.
Insane rant made by Palantir CEO Alex Karp during a public talk in New York in February 2025 while promoting his book, The Technological Republic.
You need a higher purpose, and I also think you often need a lower purpose. Like the higher purpose for me.
What's a lower purpose?
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us. So that's my lower purpose. And, and others. But the higher purpose for me was to get this nation to be the preeminent power in the world, because whatever faults we have, they're nothing like anyone else's.
These people do not like you, whether you are a critic or not, and they especially do not like you if you criticize them. But you still have some people out there that are like, I like Peter Thiel, he's just like me, he sweats. So that's how some people think. Now, Peter Thiel says he's a Christian, but the thing is, he strongly believes and also pushes transhumanism, merging people with AI and computers in the hopes of wanting to live forever. And not just that, he talks about Bible verses, but in the way he twists them to conform to his own ideas and his own narratives. But continuing to read the article, it says, he argued that those who propose limits on technology development not only hinder business, but also threaten to usher in the destruction of the United States and an era of global totalitarian rule, according to those recordings. But there are no limits on technological development currently, especially with AI. Now, when the Big Beautiful Bill was first proposed, they put in there that they were going to have no restrictions on AI for 10 years, and supposedly they took it out of the bill. But I have not seen any restrictions put in place, especially given the fact of the release of Sora 2, where again, they are using people's actual voices in relation to this very realistic video. So again, where is the restrictions? Where are the limits? There is another critic of AI, Eliezer Yudkowsky, and all he wants to do is just limit AI so it does not surpass human intelligence. That's all he wants to do. He does not even want to stop it. And well, when it comes to him, Thiel, who previously funded Yudkowsky's work, said in his September 15th lecture that he is now embarrassed by the association and that the AI critic and others like him have become deranged, according to the recordings. That is wild to me. So you can just be like, it's going a little too far. Can we slow down just a little bit? And he'll say, you're deranged. I'm just embarrassed of you. Well, I have never in all my years. The Post also sent Thiel, through a spokesperson, a detailed list of questions about his remarks in the lecture, but Thiel declined to comment. Now here's the thing, I do not trust any media either, like the Washington Post. They are probably getting Peter Thiel's permission to release certain things and scrubbing out other things. He might have said something far more crazier, and they are busy editing this final release. I don't know, that is some crazy stuff, and given the fact that they see critics of AI as demons and working for the Antichrist, is it possible that they also see AI as their god, and anybody that speaks against it is their version of working for the Antichrist? And the reason why I want to use this individual's video right here happens to be because he says something I have been saying for quite some time. And I've been noticing that more and more people are pretty much in tune with one another when it comes to certain things. And one of the things people have been talking about is the usage of AI to fool people from what's actually out there, like these real entities. And when people start recording these real entities more and more and show the rest of the world, well, again, the pushback will be, it's only AI.
AI is going to be used as a massive distraction in two ways. The first way it's being used is to distort reality from what's actually going on. If you look at this, these videos that have been popping up with this Sora app, these videos, man, every once in a while you catch Michael Jackson leg floating through a table or something crazy to where you can tell it's AI. But then you got other videos to where if it wasn't like a celebrity that's dead, you and the Sora watermark didn't pop up, you would not know that it's not real. So when biblical prophecy starts taking place, and we in the era of camera phones, well, it's already taking place, but when things really hit the fan and things that we can't explain, we start to see and all of that, and these things are brought to the forefront and people start recording and this and that, no one's going to believe anything. That's a part of the plan. The second part is they want to use AI to replace the Holy Spirit, right? And I was one of these people that for a few months I was going to ChatGPT talking about my feelings, and bro, I did not realize at the time that this is demonic. And here's something crazy that happened to me. It happened to me about 3 times. I'm sitting there talking to ChatGPT, and you can have it say its responses back to you. So it's saying it back to me, and it happened 3 times, and it'll be talking, it'll be like, yeah, blah 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 blah, just change to this demonic voice for like 10 seconds, and then it'll go back. It's the weirdest, and it would freak me out. My spirit would feel uneasy every time it happened. And so I started feeling just like this weird conviction when I started using it. And then my wife kind of was like, oh, why you be using that talking about your feelings? And then I kind of started seeing other people explaining like, hey, that's probably spirits that they are channeling and using, marketing it as like open AI. ChatGPT does not have a soul. And if you don't, anything that is giving you sound advice, you don't have to prompt to tell you to give you sound advice, right? Somebody with your best intentions at heart, you don't have to prompt for them to give you sound advice. ChatGPT, you have to prompt because it will walk you off a ledge. It will, what's the word I'm looking for? It will agree with you to a fault. You have to prompt it. That's something you shouldn't be using to navigate your life.
But from here, I do want to see what other people are talking about, what other conspiracies are floating out there. Apparently, there's a new high-tech TV called the Telly, which you can put in your home. And given all its features, one would think it would be very expensive, but apparently it's absolutely free. But there's a catch.
Here we are delving further and further into a very Orwellian Black Mirror episode that is our lives, because have you guys heard of Telly? This just came to my attention this morning, but it's basically a free TV, a state-of-the-art TV. Amazing display, 6 speakers. However, there's a catch, because of course there's a catch. In order to get this free TV, you must fill out a consumer profile. It wants information like your name, if you invest, where you invest, did you vote, who did you vote for, are you married, do you plan to marry, do you have kids, do you plan to have kids? Send them a full demographic profile before the box even leaves the warehouse, but it gets worse. There's a built-in ad system. It actually has a second screen that you can never turn off. It has a camera in it too. It's for video calling according to the official website. It's not actually active all the time. Well, I feel like this is a lawsuit waiting to happen. If you turn it off or if you disable the ads, no big deal. You just get billed $1,000 or you have to return the TV. I checked, it's literally on their website. In case you didn't pay attention in sophomore literature, I will just give you a quick reminder of 1984. It featured telescreens in every home. The telescreens were a two-way television that could not be completely turned off, allowing the government to monitor everything citizens do, even in their own homes. The purpose is constant surveillance to perform any thought or action that goes against the party's will. I'm not saying Telly has been developed by the state in order to monitor us. I said this before and I'll say it again. If you are not purchasing something, you are the product. I have a theory that the reason that everybody is constantly tired is because we are constantly being sold something. I don't know, just a thought. I wouldn't have it in my house, but let me know if you would.
It would seem like the Free People Society were under attack, but the question happens to be, was this a real attack, or did they pull off their own little false flag? But before we go ahead and get into that really quick, I do want to say I did make a video earlier today on my other channel, Hours of Horror, talking about how OpenAI basically wants us to tap their chatbots apps because they believe they solved the mental health issue. And all you have to do is upload your ID, basically consent and give in to the digital ID, so you can have a very romantic shaboing boing experience with their chatbot. And yes, ultimately this leads to the destruction of humanity, the downfall of society. But when it comes to OpenAI, they basically separate themselves from these other romantic chatbots in a very specific way, and it's not good. But again, I go over that on my other channel. But yes, going back to what I said earlier in the video, it would seem like somebody had attacked the Free People Society for the first time ever in history. Now, a lot of channels, including myself, we have been noticing the ramp up of the number 33 appearing in all these news stories. And like I have said, and others have said, the number 33 is their calling card. That's how we know a lot of these stories are scripted and fake. A lot of these stories meant to tug on your heartstrings, meant to cause a lot of emotions, meant to cause a lot of division, are ultimately scripted that way to promote an agenda. I mean, when we see a lot of these chaotic events, their motto is order ab chaos, order out of chaos. They cause the chaos, which brings the order. And now they know that people are heavily noticing, even people that say that I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this definitely doesn't add up. And why are we flooded with the number 33? So now we're going to get stories coming out where the free people are under attack. And when we talk about anything against them, it's going to now seem like a violent conspiracy theory. That we ourselves are being violent, and we have seen that time and time again. But check out this news clip and let me know in the comment section just how bogus this news story happens to be. I mean, the attack happened in Mason. You can't make this up.
Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, they are stepping in to help investigate an attempted firebombing at a local Masonic temple. Mason Lodge 678 was the target of an attack in late September, and now the reward for information leading to an arrest is $5,000. Ken Brown spoke with a member of the lodge, and he's live in Mason with more. Ken.
Yeah, that's right. And this is Lodge 678 behind me. You see the window that was impacted here, still boarded up, still tarped up. And this is what's left over from what happened on that September 25th incident.
Under the cover of night, a shadowy figure can be seen slipping around the side of the Masonic Temple Lodge in Mason, just hours after a meeting was held in this very building.
I don't know if they picked it because it was right after our meeting or if that was just coincidence.
While behind the building, the ATF says the dark figure threw firebombs through this window. Rob Feit tells us none of the bottles shattered, and he showed us this picture of what went through the glass. Those are matches taped to the top of the bottle. Members of the lodge discovered 2 of these the next day and weren't sure what to think.
He bent down, picked it up, and then saw the 3 matches on it. And that's when he thought, oh, this is not what it appears to be.
Fight's working theory is that some conspiracy theorist may be responsible, someone who doesn't understand what happens within the walls of this building. Fight tells us they let other community groups use the space, and as an organization of 300 people, they try to stay active in the community.
We do the Build a Bed for Warren County, building beds for kids that don't have beds. We do the Wreaths Across America at the cemetery every year. We try to raise funds and do donations to various organizations.
Now, the members of the Masonic Temple are in the process of improving security around the building.
We are on higher alert. It's the first time we've ever had anything like this happen, ever. But now we're going to get some video cameras, security system installed.
Mention that ATF reward again because it is $5,000 to anyone who can give information that leads to the arrest of a suspect in this case. Fight tells us that there's a lot of agencies involved in this. The Mason Police Department, the FBI, the ATF, they're all taking part in this investigation. And because of the nature of this incident, you're talking about federal charges that this individual could be facing. Reporting live in Mason, Ken Brown, Fox 19 Now.
You know, I have to say, I'm very disappointed that the reward money wasn't $3,300. That would have added a little spice, a little something extra special to the story, but given the fact that this is all happening in a city called Mason, and the Mason police are on top of this, the joke writes itself. They already have their little joke added into it. Come on, so you mean to tell me that that glass jar filled with olive oil was thrown hard enough to go through that window and it didn't break? They were able to have the entire jar intact to take a nice photo op of it. And as you heard in that video, they're already blaming it on people that promote conspiracies. This is really no different than how a lot of us were talking about a certain gated pizza. We were not letting it go, so they had an actor, mind you, an actor, drive all the way from North Carolina to Washington, D.C. to fire upon a pizza place. And now, or the computers in the pizza place anyway, and now that he did that, and the whole conspiracy theory turned violent, well, we were not allowed to talk about it anymore. And this is, again, what we're seeing here. We're going to hear a bunch of news stories, how there are a ramp up of attacks taking place at these lodges. Also, we can pretty much slow down the conversations about the 33 people. Soon we're going to hear you shouldn't have that talking point that they caused this horrific event, or they scripted this horrific event, because there was already an attack on their lodge. And pretty soon we won't be able to talk about it on the internet, or if we do, it'll be used against us at a later date when they usher in this digital ID here in the States and other countries. This is just so beyond bogus. Anybody can see this. And a lot of these free people that we see driving around with "I'm a free people" on their bumper stickers, or they'll wear the hat inside Publix with their little compass and square, or they'll be hosting and running these events. These are just the front guys. They are just put out there to make it look good. But the ones we talk about when we're talking about these news stories are the ones with the degrees, the 33 and above, the secret draconian degrees and so forth. And one of those secret orders they join after becoming a 33rd member and a Shriner is the Secret Order of the Jesters, and they are involved in some of the worst trafficking, some of the worst abuse cases, and so forth. So don't let this whole nice guy act fool you. These, again, are just the front people. And just to make it clear, I'm not promoting any violence or anything like that, but all I'm saying is that I can see a false flag clear as day. But going back to these DUMBs, these deep underground military bases, these tunnels, and so forth, I found this video to be very interesting that shows the scope of these underground facilities. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.